Good afternoon, everyone. It was very pleasant to hear all the previous speakers and panelists. So, thank God, I'm not going to talk about LLM at all. So, we had overdose of Gen AI today, so I will not talk about it. But what I'll do is I'll talk about the thing that is coming, the way we think about very large ecosystems and how do we get ready to build the next 20 years of AI. LLM will play a small role, but there's a lot more that we need to do. Yeah, can you put up the slides, please? All right. So we call this emergent ecosystem or emergent intelligence. And, the story started when, one night during COVID, Mr. Ambani called me and he said, hey, Shailesh, you're building a brain, but we don't have a body to support that. And then it all started that, we need to think at three levels about putting an ecosystem together, right? The body, which is the physical part, the operations of a business, the conscious mind, which is what I call the IT part, which is interacting with the people on the ground and people, our customer, and the most important, the subconscious mind of an enterprise, which is the AI part, right? So we'll talk about how to integrate all this and how to build, what is the use cases of the next 20 years and how do we get there? Yeah. So I'll talk about three big ideas. What is the complex ecosystem, right? It's automated, it's intelligent, it's integrated, and it's real time. So what does that mean? Then I'll talk about an operating system for an ecosystem. What is an operating system for a smart city or an agriculture ecosystem, right? How do we think about operating systems beyond mobile phones and cloud? What does that mean? And the third idea I'll talk about is the marketplace. How do we think about bringing everybody together in the same platform so that we can build the millions and millions of models we need to build to transform the country, right? So this is hopefully going to be a driving force. So let's talk about complex systems. Now, if you look at the evolution of products, we started with physical products that came with pre-programmed intelligence, right? The car will, put the light on if the petrol is less than a threshold. So they were all programmed intelligence products, product 1.0, physical and instinctive products. Like babies are born with instinct, animals are born with instinct. That's the first generation products. The second generation products we all grew up with had the ability to learn from data and become better over time. So we never built a final search engine. It is still going on and improving, right, after 20 years. So this ability that we can collect a lot of data from the crowd and keep improving our systems is what we mastered in the last 20 years with cloud and all of that, right? So this is a very important phase where we are today. And the reason why we are able to build ChatGPT is also because of this. What is the next generation product going to look like? Let me ask the audience. What do you think, don't talk about LLMs alone, that's technology. What do you think is the next leap in product that is going to happen? Yes? Sorry? Okay. Wow, very nice. Okay, very nice. Okay, recursive, very nice. Autonomous, yes. That's a property, yes. Huh? Flying cars, very nice. Yeah. All right. So in my mind, we have already started talking about these, what we call ecosystem products. So the idea that a smart city is a product. Each city is one product. It's an ecosystem. And there are many such ecosystems that we are going to build in the next 20 years, right? So if you think about ecosystems like, smart cities, a connectivity network, the whole network is one ecosystem, right? One Geo, one Airtel is one ecosystem made up of so many products, components, right? If you think about a refinery or a very large complex system, we have already built this product, but the subconscious mind is not acting the way it should. So many parts working together as a whole is an ecosystem, right? If you think about the agriculture ecosystem of a country, not one drone. We know how to build drones now. What we don't know is how to connect the satellite data with the soil IoT data, with the supply chain, with the chemicals and the soil quality and export policies of agriculture. We don't know how to connect all that, right? Same thing with healthcare. We know how to build hospitals, which are again an ecosystem, but we don't know how to think about the entire healthcare ecosystem of a country. The next COVID might come soon, so we don't know, how do we get there. Retail is a great example of an ecosystem product. Yeah? So that is what we think from a Reliance perspective are going to be the next generation products. And why are they different from Google search, for example? I'll take a specific example. They will have billions of entities of hundreds of types, because search has queries, ads, URLs, 3 types of entities, 20 years, 20,000 engineers changed the planet. But now we are heading into hundreds of types of entities. If you look at telecom, we will have entities like, the SIM card, the devices, the cell tower, people on the ground, the grid, buildings, all of that, right? So that is one type of complexity. Another is we'll have trillions of interactions of many, many types. People are joining the system, leaving the system, making a payment, doing a phone call, downloading something. So you should start feel the complexity from the type of entities and types of interactions. We'll have hundreds of metrics. So if you think about search metrics, Google's, Gmail spam metrics, YouTube recommendation metrics, they're all independent of each other. But in a complex ecosystem, those metrics will be interacting with each other, right? The business metrics, the customer metrics, the environmental metrics, operational metrics will be all interconnected to each other. And then we'll have hundreds of workflows. When we think of Google, it's, given a query, give me the results, is a very simple workflow. Obviously, there's a lot of subconscious stuff that happens in the background. But here we'll be having many, many workflows. So I'll talk about all these ideas in a little more detail, right? So how do we handle this complexity? So we think of ecosystems as a cross product of some horizontals and verticals. If you look at your own body, it's a complex ecosystem. It has a conscious and a subconscious mind, and it has workflows, and it has systems. So we have 5 systems, and we have workflows. When you eat food, a workflow gets started. When we fall sick, another workflow gets started. Right? So we have workflows and systems. So it's a system thinking kind of approach. So what we've done, we've looked at all the workflows in all the various businesses in the conglomerate, and we have grouped them into different types of workflows. So some are very simple execution workflows. Somebody ordered something on Agio. How do you make sure it is getting delivered? So there's nothing, weird about it. It's just an execution workflow. Then exceptions happen all the time, right? Cell towers are down, product is out of stock, weather is bad, somebody is not well. So these are all exception workflows. How do you discover, predict, and act on these exceptions? Then we think in terms of expansion workflows. How do you want to grow your business, right? Where to open the next store, where to put the next cell tower, which customer segment to grow, in WhatsApp, what feature to add. So whether you're thinking about a customer growth, market growth, product growth, what does an expansion workflow look like? Then an efficiency workflow. How do you measure efficiency of your system and make sure it is at peak efficiency, right? At Ola, Uber, how do you measure efficiency? Right? Delivery, supply chain, all kinds of efficiencies. And then, every AI model has to continuously evolve, right? We have seen how Google has evolved over the last 20 years. Now we're talking about hundreds or thousands of models. How are they going to evolve? Are they going to be retrained every day, every week, every hour, every quarter? How are we going to think about the evolution workflows, right? So very quickly, here's an example of an exception workflow, right? And what we do, we think about monitor everything. All your sensor data, monitor everything. Now, the most important thing we do, mistake a lot of companies do is they think of a dashboard as a very holy thing. For me, dashboard is one of the graveyards of data. Okay, and I'll give a talk on why I think about it. The right dashboard is not something that tells me what all is going on in my business. The right dashboard is the one that tells me what is not going well in my business. How do I discover the emerging issues? How do I discover exceptions? Software people know this. We put a lot of exception checking, but what about a business, right? So how do we discover exceptions? Maybe before they happen. How do we predict exceptions? How do we analyze the root cause? How do we then, that's another area. I think one of the big areas of AI will be doing a complex root cause analysis, planning, reasoning, thinking. Those ideas are going to be very important in the future. How do you synthesize an action? How do you execute an action? The mind-body problem. How do you measure impact? And then how do you learn from all that, right? Maybe we didn't discover the right issue. Maybe we didn't analyze it properly. Maybe we didn't synthesize the right action. How do we then do that, right? So this is just example of exception workflow. The other thing we think in terms of is systems, right? So we are built of 5 systems. Enterprises are built of 5 systems. One is a system of sensors. All your data coming in, different formats, different rates, is your system of sensors. All the then system of records, which is how do you think in terms of storing your raw data, storing your features, storing your labels, storing your content, storing your predictions, and storing your optimizations and decisions and metrics. The whole thing is a system of record, not just the raw data, right? So we need to expand the notion of what is system of records. System of intelligence, we all understand. How do we make sure every component of all the workflows, wherever AI is needed? So one of the themes here is AI is not a separate thing, and IT and the rest of it is separate thing. It's an embedded system, so we don't need to think about it as an outside. So how do we build all this, evolve all this? What is the model life cycle that we think about? System of operations. We have digital operations and physical operations. Like we are living in a digital physical world, right? Ola, Uber is a digital physical ecosystem. So physical operation and digital, both, how do we do it well? Because that's the output, right? The hands and legs of an organization. System of interface is the conscious mind, which is saying, how are customers interacting with my business? How are my own ground operation people interacting with my business? How do we think about these two? And then system of integration is going to tie all this together, right? How do we integrate the data coming on one side, analysis happening, optimizations happening, groundwork happening, operations? We need that ecosystem. Hundreds of AI startups by themselves will do great stuff. But until we integrate all of them together, we are not going to make a dent. And that is reality that I learned because from Reliance perspective, integration becomes a bigger issue, right? So integration is the next big innovation, as they say. So an example of workflow thinking, if you think about orders coming on one side, demand forecasting happening from the same orders, allocation happening on those orders, profiling happening and recommendation happening on those orders, and replenishment happening. These are examples of the major 5 workflows that are common to all e-commerce verticals, right? This can be applied to fashion industry and whatever else, right? In terms of, now we are working at operating system for the country level, and we are thinking, instead of doing one use case here, one use case there, how do we put it all together? What does an operating system for agriculture look like? So the idea is, imagine so many events are generated all the time in a very asynchronous manner, right? Weather warnings, satellite data is telling me something, farmer took a photo of a crop, there is a pest outbreak somewhere. All these events are happening all the time asynchronously. How are we going to handle that complexity? So we need an operating system which is also, it has deep knowledge of every farm. What is grown here? What is the NPK level? What is the moisture today, yesterday, tomorrow going to be, and all that? We need all kinds of models, not one model here and one model there, in a very standardized form. So we should be able to say, given a photo, what is the disease? Given a soil IoT, what is the deficiency? Given a satellite data, what should we do? What is the omics of the plant, genomics? What should we do? Bringing all the models together is a bigger problem. Building all the models is a solved problem. Yeah. Then how do we think about the knowledge base of agriculture? We are going to head into reasoning and thinking now. How would like a agriculture expert will think about an answer that this guy is asking? And then how do we think about all the content in all languages that we talked about? And then from there, the output could be, imagine an advisory going to every farmer every day, what to do. To government advisories are going, stock up on onion here, elections are coming or whatever, right? Supply chain dashboards, export advisory, all kinds of advisories, right? To chemical companies, to fertilizer companies. So imagine an ecosystem that can handle this is the next big product. That is the next big platform at a country level that we need to build. Same thing with healthcare. I won't go into the depth of it, but we all get a sense that these operating systems need to be now created. Education, again, we talked about how students are, struggling. And in a digital physical school, what would education look like? So there are events coming in a digital education system, and we'll have a complete understanding of every student's learning path, personalization models for content, curriculum, and everything, and an education content lake. All the building blocks kind of sort of are there. We just have to integrate and make sure we are able to give advisories to students, right? So there's a general framework, a design pattern that is emerging. Now let's talk about the third big idea. How do we do this? So there are two infrastructures, public infrastructures I'm talking about. One is how do we think about these operating systems? ONDC is an example of that. UPI is an example of that, but this is still more complex. How do we, that was the first infrastructure. The second infrastructure is the marketplace of AI, right? So if you think about the AI stack for Bharat, what would it look like? Somebody would have to sit down and say, what are all the sectors? Who are the beneficiaries? What are the products and applications they use? What kind of services they need? And within AI, what are the AI services they need? And who is going to build them, right? And the idea is, all of us together will build this, right? So companies like Google and Microsoft will build certain models, ISROs and BARC will build certain models, students will build certain models. And my dream is to see that I did a PhD from somewhere and my model got deployed and immediately got made available to millions of users. How do I make that gap between research and production possible? And, like we saw the movie Ratatouille, anybody can cook. I think in the future with ChatGPT, anybody can build models if you have great ideas. So how do we engage the whole community and change the way we think about AI as everybody participating in this ecosystem, right? And we can see the next 20 years, we are going to be very, very busy building all this for the country and all that. So here's a concept of what a marketplace will do. And hopefully the video will play. Let me try this. So this is an app we built for Machli app for fishermen. Now imagine a guy in Kerala who is very passionate about fishery. He built an app for fishermen of the country and said, hey, I will tell you where to go to fish and weather warnings and all that. So he built an app, but obviously he built it in English. And then he realized, oh, I need to build it in the 10 languages in the coastal region. And then he realized, I want to make it speech enabled. So the domain guy, the consumer of AI, is a domain guy. He understands fisheries very well. He doesn't know how to build a text-to-speech model in all 10 languages. Those are the producers of AI. And he's a consumer of AI. And the whole idea of a marketplace is to bring the producer and consumer together, right? So what will happen? Let's hope this works. So he's opening the app. I hope the audio will work. Okay, the audio is not working. So whenever we are pressing the English button, the app speaks to you. What is your phone number? So all the menus are spoken because we have an English text-to-speech model in my marketplace, right? Can you increase the volume?
Choose language.
So now he's choosing Telugu. There is no audio coming, right? So we understand the gap now that an app is there. We know how to run it in English, but we don't know. Now imagine somewhere else in the country, somebody who doesn't know that that app exists, goes to this website and says, I am the best, Telugu text-to-speech model. I am going to, with a few clicks on this website, I'll upload my model. That's all he does. He doesn't know the 200 applications of this. He's just uploading a model somewhere, and suddenly what happens to this app?
Me phone number.
Suddenly this app is now speech enabled. And that is the power we want to realize. That, without him wanting to hire a text-to-speech team or work with all the APIs that work or don't work, now imagine that there are producers of AI pumping models in a standardized API format, right? So the consumers will use standardized APIs, right? So we need to bring standardization to AI is a very big area. Then for each API, text-to-speech in Telugu, hundreds of people can contribute their models, right? Whichever is the best model for the price will get activated and that guy will get monetized, pretty much like how Ola, Uber works. And now, we create a new economy. We don't have to do Kaggle competitions anymore. We can actually put our models here and suddenly the country will benefit and you will monetize your models. And now there is an inherent competition that is building it. And once this system is in place, the new data will keep getting collected. It becomes part of the national data stack, and now everybody is equal on compute and data. That's what, if we can enable, then everybody can contribute to this economy. So these are the two important infrastructures. One is the operating system at a horizontal level. How do we think about all the workflows in all the social and business sectors? And within the AI part of it, how do we think about AI not done by one data science team, but anybody, right? And so then we democratize AI on one side and make sure it is available through the workflows to everyone. So those are the two big infrastructures. So the journey is very straightforward. We all understand that. Digitization is still not happened everywhere. We have a lot of data which is still physical, right? Handwritten reports, printed blood test reports and all that. So we are heading in the world of digital first data, remaining digital. It won't be generated for humans anymore. It will be generated for AI first, then for humans, right? So we lived in a world where a printout would come for a doctor to see it. That world is over, right? So digitization, automation, intelligence, democratization, like we said, I should not have to struggle to build a AI first app like the Machli app, because I can go to a marketplace, get whatever APIs I want in a standard format and build my app. And I don't have to worry about whether the models are improving or not. There are Googles of the world and others who can keep improving all the models, right? Inclusion is very important. How do we build AI for the masses, right? We have so far built it for the urban elite, English-speaking, tech-savvy people. But what about the blind? What about the non-tech-savvy? Speech is going to play a very, very important role. And, we heard Manish talked about speech-first kind of application. And personalization of everything, education, healthcare is going to have, agriculture, all that will be personalized. It's a shame that Netflix is personalized, but education is not personalized, right? So I think our priorities have to shift. And, India's AI strategy paper really focused only on social use cases. Only 4: healthcare, agriculture, education, smart cities, smart mobility. That's it. If we just take these 5, I think we'll become a trillion, whatever trillion we want. And last is building trust, and we all talked about hallucination and other things, right? So if we can handle this, I think we have a roadmap here, and hopefully we all can work together to get there. Yeah. Thank you so much. No questions? No? Otherwise, lunch.
Thank you so much, sir. What I wanted to announce was, first, we'll have 1 or 2 questions, a small token of appreciation. Please stay for that. And then we have a small change in the schedule, which is we're going to schedule a lunch right after this talk. And then we'll have Professor Nitin going after. And then we'll have another panel moderated by Arvind. So, if you have any questions, we can take 1 or 2 very quick questions, and then we have the lunch to speak further. Sure.
Thank you so much, sir. I am from IC Bangalore. Today's session was the most precious session in my whole life. I learned a lot from how AI will shape the future world. But my curiosity question is that AI cannot generate human feelings. And where is the limitation of human being? And these human feelings are the most important aspects to keep human beings alive. So how do you think that the material world, how much we can progress, but in consciousness level, there are some kind of limitation of AI?
Yes, you are right. I hope that limitation remains, because the Hintons and the Elon Musks of the world are worried about that part of AI, right? When, let's say, AI doesn't need you to write a prompt, what are we going to do? Right? So there is a problem, AI generating more AI, right? There is a problem. And the whole empathy, sympathy, compassion aspect of humanity will definitely cannot go there. There are no embeddings for that. But I think you are right. I think there is a limit, and we should not need to cross a certain limit, because we are now done with creating beautiful ads or, doing diagnosis for patients. If we can solve a certain level of problems, I think we should settle down and say, this is all great. One big use case that will happen, everybody talked about it, is I predicted that ChatGPT kind of system will come in the next 5 years in 2013. Now I'm predicting that AI will be a Nobel Prize winning invention co-author every hour. That is the promise of AI. And it will not happen only because of ChatGPT, but the reasoning and planning systems which will connect all the dots and do the thinking for us at a scale that current scientific process is very serendipitous. All the scientists are sitting here. If you think about it, you should have read the right papers, connected the right dots to get the right insight, to come up with the right innovation. AI doesn't have that problem. It has read all the documents, connected all the dots. It can proactively look for patterns at a cloud space. So the pace of innovation that everybody talked about, those are the things that are exciting to us. And we should think about how to leapfrog humanity into that, fast-paced innovation world. Obviously, there'll be dangers, but, at some point we have to decide whether we use technology or technology uses us. We don't know, right? So we have to be watchful for that. Yeah.
Thank you. One more question. We had one more, and then we won't be able to take any more. After this, we have the lunch. Shailesh, is it okay to bother you during the lunch as well?
Lunch is fine.
There you have the permission. Please go ahead.
Thank you for this wonderful session.
Sure,
Sir, I myself am a data scientist and a deep tech entrepreneur. But looking at AI, I use AI and I see there are great advantages. But from morning, we've been discussing about the perils, uses and disadvantages, and not a disadvantage, like it is miserable. So what do we need to do? See, we are in a do or die situation. We have to definitely rely on AI, whether it is useful or not. But at a strategic level, you at organization head, maybe you can think about it. But what about the countries or regions? What do you think they have to come up with?
So I'll give you two broad examples. So one is, if you look at the history of technology, any technology, what was the first thing we did with that? Is we misused it, then we started to use it. Nuclear weapons came before, we destroyed 2 cities, then we realized we can power the cities with energy. When internet came, we filled it with all kinds of junk, and now we realize, we can actually teach kids with the internet. You see? So the right use cases come after we have misused it. It's like a teenager. See, we are at a teenage stage in the technology world. Every teenage, with all the powers they get, first they do the wrong things with themselves, then they realize and then come out. And there are guardrails on regulation, parenting, school and society and tradition. I think there's nothing unnatural about that. AI is going through that. We are building deep fakes. We are using AI for, bad things also. And now regulation is catching up. Hopefully, our regulation will be strong enough. Open source movement is one thing that I keep worrying about. It's a double-edged sword, right? You have open sourced a very powerful model for deep fake. Anybody can do anything, right? One corporate responsibility thing I heard Facebook built a model that could take only 3 minutes, 5 minutes of your audio data, and then you can train a model to say anything in that person's voice. They realize the amount of danger it can do. It has a lot of benefits. I could record my grandfather's voice, and then I can talk to him in his voice. That's a great benefit for it. But the dangers outweighed the benefits, and they took it off.
Yeah, because when we have lessons learned, right? Don't you think the governments have to do a proactive
Governments
approach?
are very, very proactive. Today, we have a very strong, regulatory body that is looking at all that. Some of us are part of that. We are looking at regulation, but we cannot predict 5 years from now what might be the bad use case of AI. We don't know that. But what we know, we are able to put it in regulation. Regulation will always be 5 years behind technology. That's a law. Seat belts came very late in the cars. Same thing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Shailesh,
you.
for this insightful talk and sharing your thoughts today. I would